community to hear about these.
That's right. And it's Coach McPeak is with us, head coach at Frederick Douglass. They won the state championship last year. I was there at Kroger Field. I called the games for the KHSAA, and that was you guys put on the show. You 28-7. I mean, you put on the show, Coach.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me. Thanks for what you guys are doing for all the athletes in Central Kentucky. You guys do a great job. So I know Mr. Peck's back there too, so he does a great job as well with all the knowledge and everything for all these athletes. So appreciate what you guys do. Yeah, I mean, we were elite defensively last year. Me personally, this is my 20th year in coaching. I've never seen a defense like that. They were fun to watch from my perspective, not fun if you were going against them.
Yeah.
Coach Jeff Poe does a great job with our defense. He's very, very complex in what he does, very organized. He studies the game unlike no other. Obviously I don't micromanage our guys. So it was anytime you give up 5 points a game, that's historic when you're playing as many games as we play. So we were great at all three levels. Obviously, we had several Division I guys on defense.
Led by Ty Bryant.
Ty's at Kentucky, and then Kenny's at Findlay, which is a really good D2 school. Jalen Hand, a D lineman, is at Western. Harkless is at Purdue. And we just had a lot of really good players at all three levels when you look at what we had. And obviously, we have both our corners back this year that are Division I guys, with Terry On going to Northwestern and Jeremiah just committed to Michigan. But that doesn't happen just by talent. I mean, they are talented kids, but they work really hard, and we require a lot of hard work. And but yeah, it was awesome to finally get that done. We'd been in that game 3 times, and just ball didn't bounce our way, and finally it did. So, it was great to do, and really happy. We had 28 seniors that are going to go off being 15-0 and champions, and something that they're always going to remember.
Right.
But we're kind of on to the next. That's what you have to be in football. It's what have you done for me lately, and we'll kind of see and go from there for this year.
One player you do have back, and I got to mention him because he doesn't get enough ink on your ball club.
Coach,
you probably know who I'm talking about. Ranvier.
Cooper.
Cooper.
Ranvier.
Yeah. That kid, I tell you what, he is quite a soccer player, but he's a good football player too.
Yeah, he's going to be our starting X receiver this year. So, I mean, Mr. Peck was at our scrimmage on Friday. He caught a touchdown pass, kicked the PAT, then kicked it to the end zone.
Wow.
So, he hit one. Not a lot of kids can say that.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
That's awesome. And the catch he made was over 2 St. X defenders.
Right.
So, he's a really good athlete. He's
6'2", right?
Yeah, and he's over 200 pounds. Physically, looks the part. So I'm curious what college is going to take him. Obviously, as a kicker, it's always late with kickers. He's been offered by several people and still waiting on, like Texas A&M, Ohio State, kind of seeing what happens there with their kicking. And but yeah, he's legit. He's definitely a weapon anytime you put the ball in the 20 in high school.
The transfer portal in the college ranks doesn't seem to affect your players. You get all these kids into college. I mean, they all go to college at Frederick Douglass. I think that's why the kids around the area just say, "Hey, I want to go to Douglass. They'll get me in a good college."
Well, there's a lot of things that go into that. Obviously, there's a lot of talent in other places along with our place.
Yeah, there is.
But there's a lot of player development. Obviously. I have a lot of good connections at the college level. If I don't know them, I normally know somebody that does. And, I think college coaches trust in what we do. And the reason for that is we have players that are going and playing early in their careers. They're used to training hard. They're used to morning practices. They're used to meetings. I try to run it just like a college program, do the best of our ability at the high school level. Obviously, we don't have the budgeting that a lot of other people have, so we make it work. We do the best we can, but that's my number one goal, is get kids to school that have the ability to do that.
Now, is that coming down to high school? I believe the KHSA is allowing Neil name, image, and likeness, and you guys can start taking advantage of that. I guess everybody can now.
Yeah, you can, but it can't be associated with Douglass. That's the thing about that. It's got to be all on their own. They can't have a Douglass jersey. They can't have a Douglass helmet. So it is a lot different than it is at the college level.
Yeah, Does that make any sense to you,
I,
Coach?
I don't know. I think it's a birth of a new baby, and it's just see how
It
they
is.
develop.
It's
Coach,
definitely a different era.
let me. Okay, I had the pleasure of coming over and watching your team practice right there at the end of the season,
spoke
right
to
before
him.
the.
I appreciate
spoke
that.
to him, yeah. Okay, I saw. We've talked about all these skilled players. Let me tell you what. I watched you work with your offensive linemen, and I saw they're big kids, they're strong kids, but quick. Their feet were so quick. I was envious because I wish some of those drills you were doing, I wish we had thought about that back in the 90s. That would have been awesome. But I want to compliment you on that, but also to talk a little bit about your offensive line, not your defensive line, your offensive line.
Well, I appreciate those kind words. Obviously I'm the head coach, but I still coach offensive line because it's that important. And if you were to ask a lot of even our skill guys on our team, they'll come down and do like pass sets and run stuff with our offensive line, just making fun. But to me, that's important that all of our guys kind of know it's a skill set position. Our offensive line is probably our most experienced group, coming back other than maybe our quarterback. Because we have D'Amico Kennedy, which will also play D-line, but he played, a lot of games last year at left tackle. And then Zuri Madison has committed to Arkansas, is back. He played, obviously, in the state championship a year ago. And I rotated a lot of offensive linemen last year that got a lot of experience through the playoffs. Our inside three with Jalen Johnson, Isaac Lightfoot, along with Lavelle Martin in there as well. And then, our left guard is a mix of Jackson Dials and Jackson Meadows. It's like in our scrimmage Friday night, I played 12 guys. So it took me like 2 hours to grade. But that's okay. Along with the other film you got to watch. But, I take pride in it because if you're bad there, you're not going to be very good as a football team, especially as an offense. Everything we do offensively is O-line friendly. Every install, everything that we do is making sure that those guys are on the same page. There's no confusion. And that's just part of me playing the position, obviously, and knowing what you have to know. And just getting high school kids to understand that being an offensive lineman is an honor and not a, demotion. And a lot of kids have that because it's not involved with the ball. You're not scoring touchdowns, but you really are. If you don't make those blocks and you don't understand the schemes, then it's no different than running a hitch route at receiver. Just they involve the ball. So I try to get our guys to understand that not everybody can do it. It's a skill set, and obviously it's important to me being the head coach, and I still coach it.
Yeah, I think I was very impressed with that and impressed with your whole football team. And I think, and I mentioned this when I spoke to the team, that you started out with a different coach and had really good teams, but they've progressed a lot since then. And the word I'm seeing the progression is in the development of the player. You came in as a good athlete, you left as a great athlete. And that's a compliment, not just to you, but to all your staff.
Yeah, for sure. I got a great staff. And, the one thing about the state championship a year ago, I know some coaches, especially when they get, having families like some of our guys do, hey, coach, I love you, but I may ride off to the sunset after this one. And our coaches didn't do that. We only had one staff change from last year's group, which for me is awesome because good coaches are hard to find, as you guys know, especially nowadays. So we pretty much have everybody back intact. 11 guys have worked with me before. So that's really good for, being familiar with what I want and how our practice schedules go and all that. So they do a phenomenal job. We have 148 kids on our roster, 9 through 12. That's a lot. I'm not complaining, but it's still something that you have to plan for. And with that, you got to take those responsibilities. I can't see everything. I can't do everything. So I have to hire a great staff that, is honestly good at my weaknesses. And I try to hire guys that can help me with what I'm not good at. And I think that's what I have right now at Douglas, and it's a big part of why we've been successful.
We do want to talk about your schedule eventually, but I want to ask you something else before that. Your schedule is more of a national schedule.
Yes.
But, Coach, let's talk a little about your returning players and your captains. Have you named captains yet?
We have. We just now named them. We have 6 captains. Offensively, we have Cole Carpenter, which is, a returning quarterback.
Yep.
D'Amico Kennedy, which is returning O-line, D-line. We have Darion Neal, which is a returning linebacker. You know, obviously his older brothers played for me as well. Devin's at Louisville now that transferred from Baylor. And then Darius is a start running back at Georgetown College. And then we have Jaquan Rufus, which is a great kid, outside linebacker that is a great leader for us. Trying to think who else. Jeremiah Lowe, which is committed to Michigan. I think that's 5, and the other one I'm trying to remember. We have another one on defense. Junior Logan Busen, which obviously a lot of people know him from football field, but also a good basketball player. So, you know, great kid. He's one of the smartest football players I've ever coached in 20 years. You cannot run a reverse on him. He sees it, he falls into it.
He has a 4.25 GPA, so he's a smart kid. And he's
smart.
also Brent, that Busen that played, Busen that played it. I'm butchering these names. I'm like, Busen that played Lexington Cal, that now Center College right now. He's just a younger brother.
Correct. Yes.
And, you know, and about your schedule, Coach, I mean, I don't know. I guess you designed it, right? You just set it up.
I'm the idiot that did it.
I wasn't going to say that. But what you do, like we had Jayhawk and Coach K in here, and they said their schedule is by design. They want to play good teams to get better. Is that what you're thinking? Do you want to play these great teams to get Douglas better for state championship, state playoffs?
Well, that was my vision, and then also, you know, with Fayette County changing the bylaw where we didn't have to play each other, and we only have 3 district games, I had to find 7 games. That's hard to do when you just want a state championship.
A lot of teams don't want to play you.
No, and I'm just being honest. It's probably putting this schedule together was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my coaching career, and I really mean that. It was very frustrating. It was time consuming. And, you know, it's stuff that, you know, I heard you mention Bob Beatty before as I was driving in, stuff that he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not near that degree of multi-state championships and all that, but it was very difficult to find 7 games. You know, we had to play a couple national teams, and, you know, and find, I think we're playing 5 top 10 preseason Kentucky teams that won state championships or they're runner-up. So, you know, piecing it together, it was kind of, I wanted to try to take us to the next era of the schedule and try to make it, you know, more of a national thing and kind of see where we're at. But also it was, you know, I had to do it because there just wasn't a lot of schools that wanted to play.
Well, Coach, when I talk about this schedule, I'm going to say we need to get a white jacket for this for Coach McPeak. Archbishop Holman. I know a little bit about Holman because I went up to Akron and did a game between Akron and Holman, a good football program. Trinity is your second game. Tate's Creek, they're going to be much improved.
Yep.
Then you got Corbin.
At Corbin.
At Corbin.
That's a tough game.
Yeah,
That's
tough
a
game
tough
down
place
there.
to play.
Indianapolis Cathedral, that's a tough team.
Yep.
Madison Central, they're pretty good. And then you got Bryan Station, George Rogers Clark, Boyle County. So what do you think of that schedule, Coach?
Every one of them will test you. And Boyle County will test you right at the end of the season, too.
Sure. Yeah.
With that discipline and the hard-hitting kids and tough. Yeah, Coach, I understand. I mean, you made a lot of phone calls to get that schedule. I can guarantee you that. And I'm sure your assistant coaches were going, oh, God.
No, we only have 9 games. So I asked my assistants, you know, over the past couple of weeks, like, you know, obviously there's not any teams that have open date now, but, you know, they're like, no, Coach, we're good. We'll take 2 bye weeks with those opponents. So
just take a bye week to play Douglas.
You know, so we'll take, you know, it will hurt our RPI playing 2 out-of-state opponents, you know, because it is what it is. You know, those 2 programs in particular will compete for state championships in Ohio and Indiana. You know, Holman is 40th ranked preseason in the country. I think Cathedral is 70th. So we're playing 2 top 100 programs in the nation, plus all the really good in-state. Corbin Stadium is not going to be ready, according to Coach Greer. So we have the honor of opening that new stadium.
Okay.
And I think they're honoring Roy Kidd that night as well for EKU. And this is the 100th year Corbin's played football, so it will be packed.
Could there be any other thing they could honor that night? You know?
No, so it will definitely be intense.
Yeah.
You know, for me though, like, we're going to be on the road at Trinity, intense. We're basically Hoban's 10 minutes from Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton.
Yeah.
So that's going to be intense. Corbin will be intense. So if we do have to travel on the road in the playoffs because our RPI isn't as good, those are 3 really good road environments that we're going to play in. So, and I explained to really all of our guys, like, we're going to go compete. We want to win every game, but, this is kind of a new shift in our program.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily contribute it to going to 6A. It's just who we have to play.
Yeah.
And those guys are going to be well coached. They got great players. There's not going to be, I think we had 8 running clocks last year. That's not going to be the case this year at all. So I'm really looking forward to that. Should be fun. Should be pretty accurate.
Well, Coach, we're looking forward to Coach Hawkins. We'll get him in here. We got you a desk.
I'll let him talk.
And Coach Hawkins is with Bryan Station.
What's up?
Coach McPeak with
right. Yes, sir.
with Douglas. And Coach Hawkins, I'm going to ask you what I've been asking Coach McPeak. What about your seniors this year, the leadership on your team? How's that been for you?
I think that this will be the first year that we've had a full senior class of guys, they've been with us for 4 years, and they're pretty mature, and they've certainly gained some experience and won a few football games, and they've taken over our football team, and that's what you would expect from a good senior group, and they've made things pretty easy for us this summer.
Go ahead.
Coach?
One of the other things we were talking about is the way you develop your program, and I had a question specifically for you. What is your same thing I asked one of the other coaches? Other than being good in the classroom and being good on the field, skills, what is the thing that you look for in a player to play for Bryan Station?
Well, I think probably buy-in to what we're trying to do. The kids have to be committed to our vision and what we want to do as a program. So when you get a kid that's dedicated to the classroom, dedicated to his family, it's easy to make them dedicated to the team. And I just think that having kids that are bought in and willing to do what it takes to raise expectations of the program, those are the kids we want to reach out to, and we feel like we have a large number of those kids.
As far as your running backs, you tell them the traffic I just went through in 64, you just got to keep your head up on the swivel like a runner through that traffic.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a little rough getting here.
We appreciate you coming out, Coach. We'll give you a little bit more time. We got some guests scheduled at 8. We'll ask him to hold tight with us, okay? Coach Hawkins is with us and Coach McPeak, and we're talking high school football. And I tell you what, guys, I've never been more excited about a high school football season than I am in 2023. I think there are so many good teams, not only in this city, but in Louisville and in this state around. I think the football is just going to be tremendous. And both you guys comment on the football in the state.
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I think, certainly there's high-level programs, and it seems like some of those programs that were middle of the road have sort of developed into some high-quality programs, and you see that from the bottom to the top. You're always going to have, in our class, you're going to have Trinity, St. X, and Mel that just have a lot of experience being at the top. But, to see 5A, Bowling Green, certainly going to be good every year. Scott County, he seems like he's got it rolling over there.
Yeah.
And of course, LCA here locally, Lexington Catholic, and I think the Lexington schools are headed in the right direction. The Fayette County schools are headed in the right direction, and really we need all the parity we can get in high school football. I hate the big 3 term, because that just says that 3 teams in 6A have controlled everything. And I hate that term, and because it needs to be the big 7 or the big 8.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of teams that are headed in really good directions, and I think we're one of them. Certainly Douglas is one of them, and it just makes for great football seasons.
Well, I think you guys know I'm good friends with Chris Wolf, the coach at Mayo. And what Chris always told me is he's got so many good athletes walk around the hallways at Mayo High School. Somebody said they can't even get to play football. They won't come out. They play other sports, So that's a good problem to have, but you're right. It can't be the top 3. It's got to be the top 7, 7 or 8. There's got to be other teams in that mix, and I think this year is one of those years.
Yeah, and I'll say this, because, I've got a lot of friends, obviously nationally, like Coach does, that are football coaches. I have friends in California and friends in all across the country, and overall, when you get out west, there's just not a lot of people playing high school football, and here it's opposite. Which is a good thing. It's good to see the football programs here in Fayette County and in the state of Kentucky continue to grow, because I want to keep football going in the right direction.
Right.
It's the safest it's ever been, in my opinion, with all the new rules and the equipment and all that. And, it is the safest. Obviously, it's not foolproof. It's a collision sport. But it is the safest I think it's ever been, especially not even back when I played or Coach played.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of parity, top to bottom. Obviously, you have your top teams in each classification dominated by, in our classification, male, St. X and Trinity.
Yeah.
I know for me, he's playing a great schedule as well. I mean, really the only one of those top 6 teams that you're talking about in 6A is male that we don't play. So, I mean, we're going to get to see in the regular season all those top teams. And then obviously there's some teams in 6A that we're not playing that are really good. And when you look at all the local teams with LCA being really good, and it's a good thing.
And
sure.
Coach, you talked about Bowling Green in 5A. Their former head coach, Kevin Wallace, takes the St. X job. He wins a state championship last year there with St. X. He's a great coach. That's another guy we know real well, Kevin Wallace. And, you look at Bryan Station, I look at your team, Douglas won state last year. You were so close. I mean, you have Bullet East on the ropes, and you could have gone to the state championship. That has to feel pretty good for your football team coming back. You got a lot of those kids back.
Yeah, I've told people recently that I was discouraged, obviously losing and being that close to a state championship game opportunity, but ultimately I walked away thinking about where we came from. 3 years prior to upset about losing a semifinal game that was a pretty good football game. Right. So, there's so much positive and upside for our football team walking away from that game that as much as it hurt, I was pretty proud of where our program is, and it just gave us something to build on. And
don't forget, well, I know you won't forget, but everybody here, Coach McPeak, we remember you beat Louisville Trinity last year.
Yeah, that was, that game got us a lot of traction with a lot of people.
Not a lot of notoriety.
You got to beat teams like that along the way.
Yeah.
And it was good for our program, and I think it got us some attention. But it also set an expectation. The station's supposed to win those kind of games a lot, and that's what we want for our program, and that's why they're our week 1.
Yeah,
is we feel like we need to go back and be, just as competitive week 1 as we were week 13 or 14 last year.
Coach McPeak, you said it best. You won state in 5A last year. You won at 15-0. You step up a class of 6A this year. You're preseason number 1 or number 2, depending on the poll you look at. So that's really a good testament to you and your players and everybody at Douglas for the job you do, because those expectations have even followed you to a new class.
Yeah, I mean, I hope those people realize we graduated 28 seniors. But I'm just kidding. And I tell our kids this, and our parents and everybody associated with our program, we're in a pressure-packed program. There's one expectation, and that's it. I like that. Not everybody can coach in it. Not everybody can play in it, and that's just the truth. But I like those expectations. Coach has done a great job at Bryan Station. Obviously, that's a pressure program as well, with the history and the long history of the program, and he's done a great job building it back. But you're right. I mean, the expectation is to have one thing done, and that's just what it is, and that's a credit to a lot of people, a lot of players that have helped build our program the first 6 years. I mean, when I do some of these interviews for this national showcase, we're playing Akron-Hoban on Saturday. None of the media I talk with in Ohio, they're like, you've only been at school 6 years? Like, why are you playing in this? And I'm like, well, because we've had this success, because they just don't know. They just assume we played football for 50 years.
Right.
If they don't know the history of Douglas or the history of the new school. So they're really amazed by that, because in this, for example, this 2-day showcase, I mean, Valdosta, Georgia's in it, Massillon, Ohio, St. Edward's out of Cleveland, Center Grove out of Indianapolis, Dinwiddie out of Virginia, and then Glenville out of Cleveland. I mean, those are, if you're a high school football program, those are elite.
Yeah.
Those are elite, some of the most winningest programs in the country. And obviously Massillon is where high school football kind of originated.
Yeah, I think Paul Brown coached there.
Sure.
The Paul Brown.
Yeah, and but I'm just using that as an example. Like for me, I was at the first workout of history in 2017. We had 13 players. So I've been there since the school wasn't even finished yet. So for me personally, along with a couple of our coaches that are still there from the original year, I'm going to enjoy this weekend.
Yep.
I want to go compete against Hoban. We want to win. But just like I told our players, we got to really set back and look at this experience of the growth of our program. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go compete. We're going to have a great game plan. But I'm honored that we were asked to play in this showcase for sure.
Yeah, it is quite an honor.
Will you get to watch any of the other games? Will your kids
We'll take
get to
our
watch?
kids on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go Friday morning. We're going to take them to the NFL Hall of Fame. That's part of the bowl experience.
Wonderful place.
Yeah, and then that's actually the stadium that's connected that the Jets and Browns played in a couple weeks ago. That's where we'll play. And then Friday night we'll go watch Valdosta and Massillon. And then we'll go over to the hotel, get a good night's rest. We won't probably watch the first game. We play the second.
Valdosta, the winningest program, high school program in the nation.
Yep.
And I think Highlands is in the top 5.
Mayfield's up there.
Yeah, Mayfield's
Mail.
up there. Yeah, Mail's up there. But, Coach, I got to ask you your schedule this year. Tell us about your schedule. I know I see, but I'm going to look it up so I'll be able to talk about it too. But tell us about your schedule.
Well, like I said earlier, we open up with Trinity, which
That's an easy game.
Yeah. So we'll make our trip into St. Matthews and play Trinity.
Trinity.
Yes, at Trinity.
Wow.
The following week, we play in a bowl game down at Boyle.
Yep.
Against Franklin County.
Franklin gonna be tough this year. They usually are.
I'm hoping they are. I
Yeah.
mean, that's our goal.
Yeah.
Our scheduling, and then
Bowling Green.
Week 3 is Bowling Green at LCA in a bowl game, and then
Yeah,
Ballard.
we're doing those games, by the way.
Yeah.
PrepSpin has signed up to do both games, right? William Moorfield.
What game is that?
Bryan Station at LCA, that bowl game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing both those games.
The campus bowl.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're looking forward to that.
And then Ballard, week 4, and then Tate's Creek, who's much improved.
Yeah, Jonathan Hawks was just
Yeah,
with us. Yeah.
And then we get a week off, and then we'll play Henry Clay, and then start district.
Yeah.
Which
And
I'm sure you're familiar with our district.
yeah, the October 14th, you play a team, Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, look, I can tell you all about them. They won a 5A state title
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah,
and my goal is
I'm
to win a
tongue-in-cheek,
6A state
Coach.
title this year. So, I mean, as a coach, I wake up in the morning with the intention of winning football games, no
Yeah.
different than him. So, on October 14th, it's not going to be any different.
You said
for us.
something right there that I like. Your attitude has really, and Coach has the same attitude. He wants to win every football game, don't you, Coach?
Sure.
You have been able to get that down to your players. They believe wholeheartedly. They had to believe they're going to win the Trinity game, and you won the Trinity game.
Yeah, I mean, our kids have learned a lot in my first 3 years. Last year starting out the way we did, taking a pretty bad beat down week 1 from Douglas. I mean, we weren't ready for that game.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were. I mean, it is what
Yeah,
it is. And,
yeah.
and look, going 0-3, many teams at Bryan Station in the past may have laid down.
Yeah.
And then to see them reel
Bounce
off
back.
10 straight, beat Trinity, and be in a very competitive semifinal game that we were there.
So that begs the question: how much did that? You called it a beatdown from Frederick Douglass. Did that propel you and motivate your football team?
I'm not too sure a lot of people understand that when you lose, it should be used as a tool to help you win
Yeah.
down the line.
That's
There's
what they
a
tell me in
reason you
sales.
lost,
They tell me
and
in
you have
sales.
to evaluate.
Yeah, every no is eventually going to be a yes. That's what
Yes,
they tell me.
and that's what you got to do. So
Yeah.
you got to figure out what positive or what can you turn that bad loss into
Yeah.
to make things better. And that's what you've got to do to coach a program like this is I got to figure out how can I get us winning? How can I keep us winning? How far can we win? And I don't think he's any different. I'm sure he's lost a football game before. So, you can't pack it in because you lost a football game.
Right.
So, we like where we are as a program. Our kids wake up in the morning and they expect to win. That's a culture that we've had to revive.
Right.
At Bryan Station. But our kids, that's what they want to do. They want to win. I do, coach and staff.
Coach has got his quarterback back, and I know that kid's a smart kid. He talked about Logan Busey. You got some really smart kids on the station team too. I know Cutright's a good student, and you got some other kids that do with JT Haskins, people like that.
Yeah, I mean that our senior group is just a great group of kids, and I don't think people realize how smart of kids they are and how what they do in the community outside of football. But the Frazier twins are just super kids, and JT Haskins Jr. is a great kid, and Jason Hocker, who's a pretty physical, violent kind of guy during a football game, but he's one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet, away from the football field. And I pride myself in creating that environment with our kids. We ask our kids, when you cross the white line, you got to have a different personality, and
you do,
and if you can teach enough of them to do that, then you can have some successes, and that's the way I was built growing up. Sure, he was, I'm a very nice guy, I think, but I'm not so nice, inside of those lines.
When the game starts.
That's my job.
Well, I can mention another Bryan Station player that fit that exactly. Back in the 80s, when I was coaching over at Bryan Station, we had Dermonti Dawson.
Right.
Nicest guy in the world. One of the superhuman beings that ever lived. But on the football field, he got a little dirty. He could play hard all the time. All the time.
No, he wasn't dirty, Coach.
Yeah, he's a really super nice guy, and he's a good model for all these kids. They need to understand that you can be great. You can have a great personality, be a caring person away from the game, and it's okay for you to switch it on when you get on a football field. And if you've met him, he is what you think he is. He's just a nice guy. It was a pretty good football player.
Right.
So.
And you can go in the Hall of Fame and see his bust, and it really means something.
Anthony Munoz, a good friend of mine, is in that Hall of Fame too. He was the only Bengal until they put Riley in this year. Hey guys, want to thank our first guests were Jonathan Hawks and Demetrius Gavin Clay. Want to thank Nathan McPeak and Coach Philip Hawkins. You guys do a great job. Next up, by the way, we got LCA coach coming in, Doug Charles, and Lexington Catholic's new coach, Nick Bosch. And I tell you, both of them are going to make some noise in AA and 3. I really think this year.
Yes, sir.
I do too.
And we really appreciate you guys coming in. Anything else, Coach?
No, I'm just, like I said, I'm excited for the season this year. Both of us old timers been here a while.
Old timers.
We're really looking forward to it.
This will be my 40th year of play-by-play, and working with William on PrepSpin's been the best years. 10 years I've been doing it for PrepSpin?
Yeah.
About 10 years, and I even got through my stroke and still doing the game, so I thank the Lord for that. And I appreciate you guys coming and enjoying. We'll do it again next year, but we'll see you guys in the regular season.
We'll
see you over.
Come see us on the 14th.
We'll see you.
That's
when you play.
At noon.
Is that a AAA? Whose place is that at?
It's at Bryan Station.
Is that Bryan Station?
It's a noon kickoff.
That's 3 minutes from my house. So I'll definitely be there.
Okay, William, get it down, William.
Hey, is that an invite to live stream that on PrepSpin, Coach?
I don't make the rules. You can come to all of our games if you want. I'm not the one that dictates that, but certainly that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll try to get that on. Well, thank you guys for your insight, your talk about your football team. It looks like you got a tremendous season coming up for both of you, and we appreciate you talking to us about it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and wish everybody best of luck and you guys with your schedule this year, and hopefully we can see you over on the farm at some point. I like Coach Hawkins. That's out of my pay grade for that. So, but hopefully we can do that at some point. But appreciate what you guys do. You guys do a great job, and it's go time, football in the bluegrass.
Yeah,
that's right.
Coach Hawkins, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's Bryan Station, and also Frederick Douglass in the house. We'll have LCA and Catholic when we come back. It'll be talking to them. We got all the coaches on tonight on the Coaches Show here at Rafferty's Restaurant, where the special is you.